Li Taeho walked through the long silver corridor toward the council chamber. His footsteps echoed in the empty hallway as he carried a briefcase full of papers that represented 3 years of hard work. The human ambassador had spent countless hours preparing proposals, trade agreements, and diplomatic solutions that he hoped would finally earn respect for his species. The massive doors opened with a soft whoosh, revealing the circular chamber where representatives from 12 alien species sat in their designated sections. The chamber was beautiful, with walls made of some kind of crystal that changed colors based on the mood of the occupants. Right now, the walls showed deep purple and angry red, which meant the aliens were not in a good mood. Taeho took his place at the small podium reserved for junior species. His section was near the back corner where the lighting was dim and the acoustics were poor. The council had designed the chamber this way on purpose to remind newer species of their place in the galactic hierarchy. Chancellor Clixoth of the Vraxian Empire rose from his elevated platform. The Vraxian looked like a giant blue lizard wearing elaborate golden robes that sparkled under the chamber lights. His voice boomed through the translation system as he addressed the gathering. Today we discuss the human request for mining rights in the Outer Rim sectors. The Chancellor paused dramatically while his 4 eyes scanned the chamber. The humans believe they deserve access to resources that have been managed by civilized species for thousands of years. Laughter filled the chamber. The insect-like nethers clicked their mandibles in amusement, while their antennae twitched with delight. The gaseous Omnari pulsed with bright yellow colors that everyone knew meant they found something very funny. Even the normally quiet Zeltans allowed themselves small chuckles. Taeho felt heat rising in his cheeks but kept his expression neutral. He had learned long ago that showing emotion only made things worse for humanity. The council members enjoyed seeing humans get upset and would push harder if they sensed weakness. The human colonies have been expanding without proper authorization, continued Chancellor Clixoth. They establish settlements wherever they please without consulting the proper authorities. Their reckless behavior endangers established trade routes and disturbs ancient territorial agreements. This was completely unfair. Humanity had followed every rule and regulation. The 17 human colonies were all in previously empty systems that no other species wanted. The humans had even improved those systems by cleaning up space debris and establishing communication relays that other species now used freely. Ambassador Yith of the Nether Collective stood up. Her insect body was covered in metallic armor that reflected the chamber lights. The humans showed typical primitive behavior, she said in her clicking voice. They take resources without understanding the complex balance required for galactic stability. Taeho wanted to point out that human colonies were actually more stable and productive than most alien settlements. Human farming techniques had turned barren worlds into garden planets. Human engineering had built cities that were marvels of efficiency and beauty. But he knew that any defense of human achievements would be dismissed as boasting. The discussion continued for 2 hours. Every human proposal was rejected or modified beyond recognition. The council members talked about humanity as if they were children who needed constant supervision. They spoke over Taeho whenever he tried to contribute to the conversation. Finally, Chancellor Clixoth stood again and made an announcement that shocked even Taeho. The council has decided that for the safety of all species, including humans themselves, it is necessary to relocate all human populations to a single supervised system. The chamber erupted in approving sounds. The aliens were clearly pleased with this solution. They nodded their various heads and appendages while making satisfied noises. Taeho realized they had planned this from the beginning. This entire meeting was just a show to make their decision seem official. We have selected the Kepler 442 system for human habitation, continued the Chancellor. It has 3 habitable planets and sufficient resources for your population. The system is isolated enough to prevent future unauthorized expansion while remaining within our protective sphere. Taeho felt something break inside his chest. This was not about safety or protection. This was about putting humanity in a cage. The Council wanted to control human technology and innovation, while keeping humans themselves locked away like dangerous animals. The Kepler 442 system was a dead end. a former mining operation that had been abandoned when the ore ran out. The planets were technically habitable, but would require massive terraforming, efforts to support large populations. It was clearly chosen as a punishment disguised as a gift. All human technology and research will be shared with council scientists for proper evaluation, added Chancellor Clicksoth. We cannot allow primitive species to develop weapons or tools that might threaten galactic peace. Now Tejo understood the real plan. The council wanted to steal everything humans had created while trapping them in a remote system. The aliens had watched human innovation with growing worry. They saw how quickly humans learned and adapted. They noticed how human solutions often surpassed alien technology. The vote was unanimous. Every species supported the relocation plan. They discussed timelines and logistics as if they were planning a routine cargo shipment. They talked about loading human families onto transport ships like they were moving livestock. Tejo stood quietly during the entire discussion. He did not argue or protest. He simply listened as 12 alien species decided the fate of humanity without caring about human opinions. The translator device in his ear kept feeding him their words, but he stopped hearing them. When the discussion finally ended, Chancellor Clicksoth looked down at the human ambassador. Your species has one galactic standard month to begin the relocation process. Transport ships will be provided. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. The chamber began to empty as alien representatives filed out, chatting among themselves about lunch, plans, and afternoon meetings. They seemed completely satisfied with their morning work of enslaving an entire species. Tejo remained standing at his podium long after the chamber had emptied. He thought about his wife Su-Jin waiting for him back on Earth. She was probably in their garden tending to the roses they had planted together. He thought about his daughter Min-jung, who was studying engineering at Seoul National University. She wanted to design starships that could travel between galaxies. He thought about all the humans living on colonies throughout the galaxy. Scientists and farmers and teachers and children who were building new worlds with their own hands. They deserved better than to be caged by species who feared human potential. Slowly, Tejo reached up and removed the translation device from his ear. The small silver device felt heavier than it should have. He placed it carefully on the podium, where it made a tiny clicking sound. Without saying a word, Tejo turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the empty chamber as he left behind 3 years of diplomatic service. The crystal walls flickered between colors, as if confused by his silent departure. The translation device sat alone on the podium, still glowing with its ready light, but there were no more human words for it to translate. Councillor Park Ji-woo sat in the emergency session chamber surrounded by panicking alien representatives. 3 weeks had passed since Ambassador Lee Tae-ho walked out of the council meeting, and the galaxy was falling apart faster than anyone could have imagined. The first sign of trouble came within hours of the human diplomatic withdrawal. Every human ship, station, and colony had gone completely silent. Their communication networks disappeared from galactic channels as if someone had flipped a switch across the entire species. Chancellor Clicksoth paced back and forth on his platform, his blue scales turning darker with stress. "We demand an explanation," he shouted at the empty chair where Tae-ho used to sit. The humans cannot simply ignore council authority, but the humans were doing exactly that. Park Ji-woo watched the chaos unfold from his observation post as various alien species tried desperately to contact human settlements. The responses were always the same: complete silence. Human ships would not acknowledge hails. Human colonies would not respond to emergency broadcasts. Even human individuals seemed to have vanished from social networks and communication systems. The real problem started when the trade routes began failing. The Vraxian Empire discovered that 40% of their cargo shipments depended on human-operated relay stations. These stations had been quietly managing traffic flow between distant sectors, using algorithms that no alien species fully understood. Without human oversight, the shipping lanes became chaotic. Cargo ships collided at junction points where human traffic controllers had been preventing accidents for years. Supply chains that had operated smoothly for decades suddenly broke down as alien logistics officers struggled to replicate human efficiency. Ambassador Yith of the Nether Collective clicked her mandibles nervously as she reported the disasters happening in her territory. "Our mining operations have stopped producing," she announced. "The human engineers who maintained our extraction equipment have disappeared. We cannot operate the machinery without their expertise." Similar reports came from every corner of the galaxy. The Omnari discovered that their energy production had dropped by 60% because human technicians had been secretly improving their power systems. The Zeltans found that their agricultural worlds were failing because human biologists had been developing the crop rotation schedules. Park Ji-woo had access to classified information that made the situation even more alarming. Human involvement in galactic civilization was far deeper than anyone had realized. They had not just been junior partners helping with simple tasks. They had been the hidden foundation keeping everything running. Dr. Kim Yuna had been working on 17 joint research projects with the Council's top scientists. Her sudden departure left brilliant alien minds staring at equations they could not solve. Problems that had stumped civilizations for centuries were being solved by human creativity and insight. Now those solutions were locked away behind walls of silence. The medical sector was in complete chaos. Human doctors had been quietly revolutionizing alien healthcare using techniques that seemed impossible to replicate. The life extension treatments that had become standard for council members were based on human research that no alien scientist could duplicate. Park Ji-woo received reports from intelligence officers who had been monitoring human activities. The humans had not just disappeared, they had revealed capabilities that shocked even their closest observers. Human colonies that were supposed to be primitive outposts turned out to be advanced technological centers. Commander Choi Min-ho led a convoy of human vessels through space routes that should not have existed according to Council star charts. The ships moved using technology that alien sensors could barely detect. They appeared and disappeared at will using some kind of dimensional manipulation that made Council stealth systems look like children's toys. The few human ships that alien patrols managed to spot ignored all attempts at communication. They would simply vanish using technology that Council scientists insisted was impossible. The humans were not hiding. They were demonstrating that alien understanding of physics was completely outdated. Intelligence reports revealed that human settlements existed in locations that Council surveys had marked as empty space. Advanced scanning could detect energy signatures that suggested massive structures in dimensions that alien technology could not access. The 17 known human colonies were apparently just the ones they had allowed aliens to discover. Park Ji-woo watched as panic spread through the Council chambers. The Vraxians demanded military action, but their fleet commanders admitted they had no idea where to find human ships. The few coordinates they had for human colonies led to empty space with strange energy readings that made their sensors malfunction. The economic reports were devastating. Every major trade route depended on human logistics networks that had been operating invisibly for years. The efficient systems that moved goods between distant worlds relied on human mathematical models that alien economists could not understand. Even worse, the humans had been sharing technology freely but keeping the most advanced development secret. The energy sources that powered alien cities were primitive compared to what humans were actually capable of producing. The weapons systems that Council militaries bragged about were generations behind human defensive technology. Park Ji-woo realized that the Council had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that humans were grateful junior partners who needed alien guidance. The truth was that humans had been carrying the entire galactic civilization on their shoulders while pretending to be students learning from superior teachers. The communication attempts became more desperate as days passed. Chancellor Clicksoth offered humans full membership in the Council with equal voting rights. Ambassador Yith promised advanced technology sharing and military protection. The Omnari even offered to make humans the senior partners in joint research projects. But every message disappeared into the void. Human communication networks had evolved beyond anything aliens could access. While Council species still used slower-than-light transmissions for long-distance communication, humans had developed instantaneous networks that spanned entire galaxies. Park Ji-woo accessed classified files that painted an Even more disturbing picture, human advancement was accelerating at an unprecedented rate. While alien civilizations had stagnated for thousands of years, humans were solving fundamental problems and breaking through barriers that other species considered impossible. The humans were not just more advanced than aliens had realized they were advancing faster than anyone could track. Every day brought new discoveries and innovations that left alien science looking primitive by comparison. The emergency session continued. Park Ji-woo understood that the power balance in the galaxy had shifted completely. The species that had treated humans like useful servants were now completely dependent on human expertise and innovation. The Council, members who had laughed at human proposals 3 weeks ago, were now begging for human attention. But their desperate messages received no response. The humans had moved beyond needing Council approval or recognition. The galaxy was learning that humanity was not a junior species seeking guidance. They were the natural leaders of galactic civilization, and they had finally stopped pretending otherwise. Fleet Admiral Han So-ra stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought, watching Council fleets search empty space through the main display. The alien ships moved in clumsy formations using outdated scanning technology that could not detect human vessels even when they were hiding in plain sight. The massive human ship existed in folded space-time, making it invisible to conventional sensors. While Council fleets desperately hunted for human colonies, the reality was far beyond their worst fears. Humanity controlled not 17 settlements but over 200 thriving worlds scattered across multiple dimensions. So-ra smiled as she watched a Vraxian battlecruiser pass within a few kilometers of her position. The alien crew had no idea that a human dreadnought twice their size was observing their every move. Human stealth technology had advanced so far beyond alien understanding that Council ships might as well have been flying blind. Engineer Song Dae-jung entered the bridge carrying a small metallic cube that looked completely ordinary. The device was no larger than his fist, but it represented a breakthrough that would change everything about galactic civilization. "Admiral, this is the prototype quantum vacuum," Generator Song announced, placing the cube on the main console. "One unit produces more clean energy than an entire Council power station." So-ra picked up the device, feeling its surprising weight. The cube was warm to the touch and seemed to vibrate slightly as it manipulated quantum fluctuations in the vacuum of space. Humans had been pretending to struggle with energy production, while secretly revolutionizing physics itself. While the Council believed humans were primitive people barely capable of interstellar travel, the truth was that human science had surpassed alien knowledge in every important field. Human physicists had solved problems that alien scientists considered impossible. Human engineers had built technologies that made Council achievements look like ancient relics. The communication officer, Lieutenant Park Min-seo, reported incoming messages from Council fleets. "Admiral, they are broadcasting surrender terms on all frequencies. They promise humans senior positions, equal representation, and full access to Council technology." So-ra laughed at the absurdity. The aliens were offering to share technology that humans had already surpassed years ago. It was like children offering to teach mathematics to university professors. The gap between human and alien capabilities had grown so wide that Council technology was essentially worthless. Dr. Yang Hye-jin arrived from the research section, carrying data tablets filled with analysis that painted a clear picture of galactic civilization. Every alien species in the Council had reached an evolutionary plateau thousands of years ago. Their civilizations had stopped growing, stopped innovating, and stopped adapting to new challenges. The Vraxians peaked about 3,000 years ago, Yang explained, showing genetic and cultural data. Their population has been declining and their technology has not improved in centuries. The same pattern exists for every Council species. This explained everything. The Council species had been coasting on ancient achievements while convincing themselves they were still advanced. They had built their entire identity around past glory, while secretly depending on human innovation to keep their civilizations functioning. So-ra studied the reports, realizing that humanity was not just more advanced than aliens had believed. Humans were the only species in the galaxy still capable of significant progress. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every solution to galactic problems had been coming from human minds. The tactical display showed Council military positions throughout the galaxy. Their fleets looked impressive from a distance, but human analysis revealed critical weaknesses in every ship design. Council weapons relied on power sources that humans had replaced with better alternatives decades ago. Their defensive systems used materials that human industry could produce cheaply in vast quantities. Captain Lim Yu-jin returned from a reconnaissance mission with intelligence that confirmed human superiority in every category. The Council military forces were hollow shells propped up by technology they had borrowed from extinct civilizations. They had not developed new weapons or defenses in generations. Admiral, the Council. Fleets are using energy weapons that our basic shields can deflect without effort, Captain Lim reported. Their most advanced ships are slower and less maneuverable than our standard patrol craft. The human fleet hidden throughout the galaxy represented overwhelming military superiority. Human ships were faster, stronger, and equipped with weapons that could neutralize Council defenses instantly. If humanity chose to use force, the war would be over before aliens realized it had begun, but force was not necessary. The Council had already demonstrated their complete dependence on human expertise. Their civilizations were collapsing without human support, and they knew it. The aliens who had treated humans like servants were now begging for human assistance. Sora received reports from human colonies throughout the galaxy. Each settlement was thriving beyond anything Council worlds had achieved. Human terraforming had turned barren rocks into garden worlds in months rather than centuries. Human cities were marvels of efficiency and beauty that made alien architecture look primitive. The humans had been quietly building an empire while pretending to be struggling colonists. Every world they settled became more productive and advanced than established alien planets. Human agricultural techniques produced more food with less effort. Human manufacturing created better products using fewer resources. Commander Choi Min-ho contacted the fleet from a deep space patrol reporting that Council search efforts had become completely futile. The aliens were looking for human colonies in normal space, while humanity had moved beyond three-dimensional limitations. Admiral, we have confirmed that Council forces cannot detect or access any of our dimensional installations, Commander Choi announced. They are essentially searching for us in a room while we exist in an entirely different building. The scale of human achievement was staggering. While aliens struggled with basic interstellar travel, humans had mastered dimensional manipulation, matter-energy conversion, and instantaneous galactic communication. The gap between human and alien capabilities was so vast that they were essentially different levels of existence. Sora made her decision. Humanity would not rejoin the Council as junior members seeking approval. The time had come to reveal the true balance of power and offer aliens a choice. They could accept human leadership and benefit from human protection, or they could continue their decline into irrelevance. The Admiral activated the quantum communication system that connected every human settlement instantly, while Council species still relied on messages that took years to cross the galaxy within seconds. Every human leader throughout the galaxy was participating in a single conversation. Fellow humans. Sora announced to the vast network, our former masters are learning that they need us far more than we need them. The question now is whether we allow them to join our civilization, or whether we leave them to face the universe alone. The response was immediate and unanimous. Humanity had tried cooperation and been rewarded with condescension and threats. Now, they would reshape galactic civilization. According to human vision and human values, the species that had dismissed humans as primitive servants were about to discover who the real masters of the galaxy had become. President Moon Ji-hwan stood before the massive assembly hall of New Seoul Station, addressing representatives from over 200 human worlds. The station itself was a marvel that existed in folded space-time, completely invisible to Council, sensors yet larger than most alien planets. The gathered humans came from every corner of the galaxy and beyond. Scientists from the Andromeda research colonies, farmers from the terraformed worlds of the Outer Rim, engineers from the industrial systems that aliens never knew existed. All of them had traveled here through dimensional corridors that made conventional space travel obsolete. President Moon activated the holographic display showing the desperate messages flooding in from Council worlds. Every day the aliens were offering everything they had once withheld. Full membership advanced technology, sharing military protection, and even tribute payments if humans would just resume communication. The irony was not lost on anyone in the assembly. The same species that had planned to relocate humans to a single supervised system were now begging for human attention. They offered to share technology that humans had surpassed decades ago. They promised protection from threats that human defenses could handle without effort. Captain Lim Yu-jin stepped forward to deliver her intelligence report from deep space reconnaissance missions. The information she carried would reshape how humanity dealt with their former masters, President the Council. Military forces are weaker than they pretended, Captain Lim announced. Her uniform bore decorations from missions that aliens could never have imagined. Their weapons systems depend on technology they borrowed from extinct civilizations. Their defenses cannot withstand even our basic offensive capabilities. The revelation sent murmurs through the assembly. Many humans had suspected that Council military might was exaggerated, but the reality was even more dramatic than anyone had guessed. The mighty fleets that had intimidated younger species for centuries were paper tigers, propped up by ancient technology they barely understood. Dr. Kim Yuna presented her analysis of Council scientific capabilities, showing that alien research had stagnated completely while human knowledge advanced exponentially. The breakthrough discoveries that aliens attributed to their own scientists had actually come from human researchers working behind the scenes. The medical advances that extended alien lifespans came from human biology research. The engineering solutions that improved alien infrastructure were based on human mathematical models. Even the basic physics that powered alien technology had been quietly corrected and improved by human scientists. President Moon reviewed the strategic situation that had emerged over the past month. Without human support, Council, civilization was collapsing faster than anyone had predicted. Trade routes failed, agricultural systems broke down, and technological infrastructure required constant human maintenance that was no longer available. The humans had not destroyed Council civilization. They had simply stopped propping it up. The result was the same economic collapse, social chaos, and technological regression that revealed how dependent aliens had become on human innovation and expertise. Ambassador Kang Mi-young stood to address the assembly carrying the document that would determine the future of galactic civilization. She had spent weeks crafting humanity's response to Council desperation, a proposal that would fundamentally change how the galaxy operated. Fellow humans, we have an opportunity to reshape civilization according to human values. Ambassador Kang announced, the Council treated us as servants when they thought they were superior. Now we can offer them partnership as junior members of a human-led federation. The proposal was revolutionary. Instead of joining the Council as subordinates, humans would create an entirely new governmental structure, with humanity naturally taking the leadership role that their capabilities had earned. The new system would be based on merit and contribution rather than age and outdated tradition. The document outlined detailed plans for upgrading alien technology, expanding trade networks, and defending against external threats that the Council had been too proud or too ignorant to acknowledge. Human deep space monitoring had detected hostile forces approaching from beyond the galactic rim, threats that made Council internal politics seem petty and irrelevant. General Shin Tai-min presented the military intelligence that gave urgency to humanity's proposal. Unknown forces were moving through dark space using technology that would overwhelm Council defenses. Instantly, only human military capabilities offered any hope of survival when these threats arrived. The enemy fleets, General Shin reported, are using dimensional warfare techniques that Council forces cannot even detect. Their weapons operate on principles that alien science considers impossible. We estimate that without human protection, Council worlds would fall within days of contact. This changed everything. The aliens were not just economically and technologically dependent on humanity. They needed human protection from dangers they could not even perceive. The approaching threats made human leadership not just beneficial but essential for galactic survival. President Moon called for the vote that would determine humanity's offer to their former masters. The choice was between allowing Council civilization to collapse completely or offering aliens a chance to survive under human guidance and protection. The vote was unanimous. Every human representative supported offering the aliens partnership in a human-led federation. The proposal would give willing species access to human technology protection from external threats and participation in a galactic civilization actually capable of growth and progress. The document that Ambassador Kang had prepared was a masterpiece of diplomacy, disguised as an ultimatum. It offered aliens everything they desperately needed, while making clear that humanity would never again accept subordinate status. The terms were generous, but non-negotiable. The communication system activated simultaneously across every council world, bypassing their primitive networks entirely. The human message appeared on every screen, reached every leader and penetrated every secure facility at exactly the same moment, demonstrating technological superiority that made alien capabilities look ancient. President Moon read the proposal aloud, knowing that every alien leader in the galaxy was listening. "The council system has failed," he announced. "Stagnant civilizations led by species past their prime have created a galaxy, unprepared for real challenges. Humanity offers an alternative." The terms were clear. Willing species could join the Human Galactic Federation as junior partners with access to advanced technology protection from external threats and participation in genuine scientific progress. Those who refused would be left to face the approaching dangers alone. The proposal included detailed technical specifications that proved human superiority in every field, energy generation that made alien power systems obsolete, medical techniques that could extend lifespans beyond anything Council science achieved, transportation technology that made current starships look like primitive rockets. Most importantly, the document revealed the approaching threats that only human defenses could handle. The hostile forces from dark space would arrive within 2 years, carrying weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Council military forces would be annihilated before they could mount any defense. The message concluded with a simple choice: accept human leadership and survive, or maintain your pride and face extinction when the real enemies arrive. There would be no negotiation, no compromise, and no second chances. As the transmission ended, President Moon looked out at the assembled human representatives, knowing they had just changed the course of galactic history. The species that had tried to cage humanity would now beg for human protection and guidance. The galaxy would learn that humanity was not seeking revenge or domination. They were offering salvation to civilizations too proud to admit they needed help. Whether aliens accepted that salvation or chose extinction was entirely up to them. Chancellor Clicksoth stared at the human proposal displayed on every screen in his command center. The document was unlike anything he had ever seen. Not only did it completely restructure galactic government, but it included technical specifications that proved human technology was centuries ahead of anything the Council possessed. The blue-scaled Vraxian leader felt his pride crumbling as he read through page after page of human achievements. Weapons that could destroy planets' energy sources, that bent the laws of physics, transportation systems that moved through dimensions the Council could not even detect. The proposal was not a request or negotiation. It was a detailed plan for saving galactic civilization from threats that the Council had never imagined. The humans revealed that hostile forces from beyond the galactic rim were approaching with technology that would make the Council military look like children playing with toys. Ambassador Yith clicked her mandibles nervously as she studied the intelligence reports attached to the human document. The approaching enemy fleets used dimensional warfare techniques that Council sensors could not detect. Their weapons operated on principles that alien science insisted were impossible. "We have 6 months before first contact," Yith announced to the emergency session. "Every military expert agrees that our combined fleets cannot survive even their advanced scouts. The humans are offering us the only chance of survival." The choice was brutal. Accept human leadership and live, or maintain Council pride and face extinction when the real enemies arrived. There would be no middle ground, no compromise, and no second chances. The species that had dismissed humans as primitive servants were now completely dependent on human protection. General Shin Tai-min arrived at the Council chambers, leading the first joint human-alien military exercise. The demonstration would show exactly why human leadership was not just beneficial, but absolutely necessary for galactic survival. The exercise began with standard Council fleet formations attempting to defend against simulated enemy attacks. The results were devastating. Alien tactics that had worked for thousands of years were completely useless against the new threats. Even the most advanced Council ships were destroyed within minutes. Then General Shin took command using human strategies and technologies that transformed the same scenario into a decisive victory. The impossible became routine as human tactics turned certain defeat into overwhelming success. Alien officers watched in amazement as their understanding of warfare was completely revolutionized. The human approach was not just different, it was superior. In every measurable way, human ships moved through space like living things, anticipating enemy movements and striking from impossible angles. Human weapons bypassed alien defenses as if they were made of paper. Human shields absorbed attacks that should have been devastating. Captain Park Min-seo demonstrated the human communication advantage by coordinating fleet movements across multiple star systems simultaneously, while Council forces still relied on light-speed transmissions that took hours to cross a single system. Humans shared information instantly across galactic distances. The most shocking revelation came when human deep space monitors revealed the true scale of the approaching threat. The enemy force was not a single fleet, but an entire civilization that had consumed galaxies beyond the local group. They possessed technology that treated stars as ammunition and planets as disposable resources. Council intelligence had completely missed this threat because their monitoring systems could only detect conventional technology. The approaching enemies used dark matter manipulation and dimensional warfare that made them invisible to alien sensors. Only human detection networks had been able to track their advance. Dr. Yang Hyojin presented the biological analysis that explained why only humans could adapt quickly enough to face this threat. Every Council species had reached evolutionary stagnation thousands of years ago. Their minds could no longer process new concepts or develop innovative solutions. Humans represent the only hope for galactic survival. Dr. Yang announced to the assembled alien leaders, "Your species peaked long ago, but humanity is still evolving, still learning, still growing. Only human adaptability can match the challenges we face." The transformation was not forced upon alien species but offered as salvation. Forward-thinking aliens immediately embraced human leadership, eager to learn from their new partners and gain access to technologies that could save their worlds. The Zelton Confederation was the first to officially join the Human Galactic Federation, followed quickly by several minor species that had always been marginalized by Council politics. These aliens discovered that human leadership valued contribution over tradition and merit over ancient bloodlines. Even some Council members began to see the benefits. The Umnari delegation admitted that human energy technology could solve their civilization's power crisis. The Nether Collective acknowledged that human medical advances could reverse their species. Declining birth rates, Chancellor Clicksoth faced the hardest decision of his long life. The Vraxian Empire had dominated Council politics for millennia, but their dominance was based on technology they could no longer improve and military might that was now revealed as inadequate. The Chancellor looked around the Council chamber that had been the center of galactic government for thousands of years. Soon it would become a regional administrative office in the Human Galactic Federation. The species that had ruled the galaxy would become junior partners, learning from the humans they had once dismissed. The vote was closer than expected, but the result was inevitable. Survival outweighed pride, and the Council officially dissolved itself to join the Human Galactic Federation under human leadership. Some species resisted, but their opposition became meaningless as their neighbors embraced the change ambassador. Li Teho returned to the chamber where his diplomatic career had ended in frustration and humiliation. But this time he came as humanity's representative to a subordinate organization. The Council still existed, but it now served as a regional government under the broader human-led federation. The irony was perfect. The same aliens who had planned to relocate humans to a supervised system were now accepting supervision themselves. They competed for human approval and partnership while offering their worlds as bases for human expansion. The transformation happened faster than anyone expected. Alien worlds that joined the Federation gained access to human terraforming technology that turned barren planets into garden worlds. Human medical techniques extended alien lifespans and cured diseases that had plagued their species for millennia. Human educational programs began teaching alien children mathematics and science that their own species had never discovered. Alien adults enrolled in human universities eager to learn technologies and concepts that would let their civilizations finally advance again. The approaching threat gave urgency to the integration process. Species that might have resisted human leadership for decades embraced it immediately when they understood what was coming. The alternative to human protection was not just political subordination, but complete extinction. General Shin established training academies throughout the galaxy where alien military officers learned human combat techniques and strategies. The transformation was remarkable, as alien forces that had been hopelessly outmatched became capable defenders under human guidance. The first contact with the approaching enemies came exactly on schedule. Human deep space monitors detected the advanced scouts entering the galactic rim, using dimensional drives that Council sensors could not perceive. The real test of human leadership was about to begin. The joint human-alien fleet that responded to the threat was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human technology enhanced with alien manufacturing capabilities. Human strategies implemented by alien crews who had learned to think beyond their species' limitations. The battle was brief and decisive. Human dimensional warfare techniques caught the enemy scouts completely unprepared. Their weapons that had destroyed entire civilizations were useless against human shields that existed in folded spacetime. As the enemy scouts retreated, Ambassador Lee Tae-ho looked out at the fleet that had defended their galaxy ships from dozens of species working together under human command, protecting worlds that had once dismissed humanity as primitive servants. Species that had tried to cage humanity now followed human leadership across the galaxy, not as conquered subjects, but as grateful partners in a civilization finally capable of facing the universe's greatest challenges.